Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host Ren, and today we continue with the Temple of the Exploding Head Omnibus, Part 1, Chapter 3, Sam. So last week, we take a very dour glimpse into the life of 13-year-old Lord Cable of Blanchford. And it's not going well for him up to this point. He's under a lot of pressure to be a lot of different things. He's a Vith. He's supposed to be blue. He's supposed to be super strong. He's supposed to be able to turn invisible. He's supposed to be able to teleport. He's supposed to be able to run really fast. And most of all, he's supposed to see shit, all kinds of things. They even put him up in the most haunted tower of the castle so he would see creepy things. That's the Vith. And the Vith are always looking for a challenge, looking to face up to whatever. And K can't see nothing. So he's sick and tired of all the chiding, sick and tired of all the blank stares and unshielded insults, blaming him, blaming his mother for his bad breeding, and he's done. He is gonna just throw his little ass off a high balcony in Pendar Tower, 4,000 feet to the crags below. And last week I said that's a 10 or 15 second fall. It's gonna be a lot longer than that. It's probably upwards of over a minute he's gonna be falling, thinking about his bad decisions. And if he could waft, he could teleport himself out of that situation, but of course he can't do nothing. So poor little guy's had enough, and he thinks if he goes up there and walks off that balcony, nobody's gonna miss him. It might be a teary eye, maybe a thump on the chest in remembrance, but that's it. They're Vith. They understand how these things work. We're gonna see a lot of things later on, but if K is one thing, it's loved. His parents and his family love him. If he were to do this, if he's going to go through with it, he would break their hearts. And he doesn't even realize it. And he's also not realizing something as he steps onto that wind-whipped, slippery balcony with nothing but 4,000 feet between him and a fatal case of street poisoning. He's not realizing something. See if you can pick up on what it is he's not picking up on. He's sick and tired of not being Vith enough. Well, he's showing a very Vith attribute in doing this. Anyways, let's see how this tragic little situation develops around us. So this is, once again, Book 1 of the Temple of the Exploding Head Omnibus, The Dead Held Hands. This is Part 1, K and Sam, and Chapter 3, Sam. So let's make this happen.
We used to be evil once, and the gods are still punishing us.
He stepped out onto the balcony in the wind and pelting rain. The stone was wet and slippery. Just over the rail was 4,000 feet straight down to the flooded crags far below. He climbed up onto the railing, the strong wind ready to blow him off at any moment, and stood up straight. This was it. "Hey, kid," he heard a voice in his thoughts. "Where's your note? Huh? You can't have a suicide without a proper note. Why, that wouldn't be good form, would it? Why, they'd say, well, he threw himself up off the balcony and he didn't leave a gosh darn note explaining his actions. Apparently, Everything we thought about him was true. Better come down and write your note. Kay climbed back down. What had he heard? Was that his conscience? In any event, the voice was right. What was he thinking? No note? That would be rude. So he looked around for paper and a writing implement. Not finding any, he exited the tower and went to his favorite reading room. There, he sat down to compose his suicide note. And he'd written a few lines when his mother appeared at the door, bodysuited and barefoot, as always when not in a gown. "Here you are, Kay. I've been looking all over for you." Standing at her side was his little sister, Hathaline. Mother was carrying his little brother, Mazer, the heir to the house after he was gone. At 7 years old, Hathaline was still barely larger than a toddler, her curled red hair a scarlet carpet spilling over her little girl's gown. Her thumb was planted firmly in her mouth. "It's been a while since we've done any exploring of the castle together, and I thought I'd give you a task to perform on this rainy afternoon. You must be lonely without your cousins." She glanced at the note. "My, your penmanship is coming along, isn't it? It's a feast for the eyes. Is that a note for your cousins or from some lucky lady somewhere out there?" "No, Mother, it's just a few musings." "Ah, well, come on, Kay. Let's go on an adventure." Kay stood and followed his mother out of the room, leaving the suicide note on the table. His mother had many interests. She loved bowling in the secret Blanchford Alley, and she loved crawling in the dark reaches of the castle. She had personally mapped and rediscovered many hidden places under the castle, covered up by the newer sections and forgotten over time. Now that Kay and his cousins were getting older and more able to cope with the rigors of castle caving, she came to them more and more to share her passion. No doubt, bowling would soon follow. "Have you ever heard of Countess Furcandia, Kay?" she asked as they walked down the corridor heading towards the eastern section of the castle, Kay's boots clicking on the tiles and his mother's bare feet making no sound. "No, Mother, I'm sorry, I haven't." "She's an old countess from long ago when the Viths still had to fight the Hytaff to survive. Countess Fergandia was a warrior who fought at her lord's side, and she fought with a karg just like he did. Her karg wasn't big and heavy like her lord's. It was smaller and lighter, something she could use. It was still a karg, just different. And I wanted you to see it. I thought you might be inspired." Her face filled with motherly love and pride. She touched his cheek. "And maybe you wouldn't be so hard on yourself, Kay. Look at you, just a little boy. It's so burdened. I can sense it. I know you've been hurting." "I'm fine, Mother," he lied. "You take things upon yourself that you shouldn't, Kay. Take your father's karg, for instance. Your father specifically told you you wouldn't be able to lift the Runvanyan right away. It's just too heavy. He told you you'd have to work up to it, but you didn't listen. You can't lift it now, and therefore you consider yourself a failure now. Don't feel that way, Kay, please. All in good time. So I wanted you to spend a moment or two with one of your ancestors who also used a karg, just a different kind of karg." She pointed at a stone bench. "Look under this bench here. You'll see a small grate. The grate trails off into a crawl space, at the end of which you'll find the hidden chapel of Countess Furcandia. I want you to go there now and pay your respects. The going is going to be tight, and this is a 4 out of 5 stone crawl, so it's a difficult one, but If you stay small and take your time, you'll be fine. Sigilla seated herself on the bench and bounced the tiny mazer on her knee. Little Hathaline stood to the side, still sucking her thumb. Kay took off his coat and laid it on the bench. I don't like how this coat fits on you, she said. I'm starting to take an interest in the doings at our factories, and I want to design you some clothes myself. I have all sorts of ideas, and those people down there better start listening to me, or else. Kay thought about wearing his mother's clothing, but of course, he wasn't going to be wearing much of anything any longer, would he? He would be dead soon. Oh, thank you, Mother. I look forward to it. Oh, wait, Sigilla said. She removed her pouch and held it out. Take this. You'll need it. Kay took the pouch. Inside, there were 2 sweet pastries within to tide him over if he got hungry, a telecom should telepathy fail, and a never-dim neon flashlight. A flashlight. He picked the flashlight up and looked at it in dismay. What a disgrace he was. Mother detected his distress. It's just a flashlight, Kay. Use it if you can't see. It's all right. He put the flashlight back into the pouch and stuffed the whole thing into the grate. Sigilla said as he wiggled head first into the hole, your sister, Lady Kylos, the one whom all the lords and ladies just can't get enough of, couldn't do this crawl. Couldn't do what? He asked, his baggy white shirt clinging to the grate in a frustrating manner. This! Crawling into tiny spaces. She's claustrophobic, Kay, did you know that? She doesn't like small spaces. She doesn't? No. You see, even a perfect Vith like your sister isn't perfect at everything. She fails and feels fear every now and again. Being afraid sometimes isn't a weakness like all the Vith seems to think it is. Take what makes you afraid and learn from it. That's what a great man or a great woman would do. Go on now. Your ancestor awaits. He crawled into the tight, dusty space. The way was rough going. Mother certainly didn't give him overly easy tasks, and even he, with his tiny body, got stuck once or twice. The musty space was only 12 inches high at most. He lay there on his stomach, his head cranked to one side because he couldn't hold it out straight, and he crawled on his elbows in jerky stages, dragging his legs and boots along. He came to an S-bend and got stuck, his knees getting wedged in. He was in a real fix. Suddenly, the cool, open space of the long fall of the balcony he was soon to take seemed very free and inviting. He tried to look around, but his head was stuck in a cranked position. Despite the confines, he remained perfectly calm and collected in the tight uterine fold. If his sister Kylos suffered from claustrophobia, then this straitjacket-like situation would probably stop her heart with fear. How are you doing, Kay? His mother sent in telepathy. I'm fine, he returned. If you get stuck at the S-bend, you'll need to turn around and go in feet first. It's just too small and you'll get pretty stuck going head first. Going in feet first will allow you to bend your knees and twist with the contours. It's much easier that way. Trust me. Thank you, Mother, he sent. He pulled himself free and balled up into the fetal position, wiggled around and plunged into the bend, feet first. Sure enough, he slid through like a bullet being stuffed through the barrel of a crooked gun. Beyond the bend was what appeared to be a dead end. It was horribly dark, and he couldn't see much of anything. With chagrin, he got the flashlight out and waved it around. Webs and old stone, a solid wall ahead of him. Where was the chapel? Had he taken a wrong turn? He spied a crack in the stone face, a small, very small, only about 9 inches wide at its maximum. Peering in, he could see hints of a murky room beyond. Must be the chapel. Puzzling it out, the only way he figured he could enter the chapel without using the waft, which he was still trying to master, was to plunge in feet first once again, a courageous thing to do, not knowing what was waiting for him on the other side. The squeeze was harrowingly tight, even for a small boy like himself, and he had to control the urge to panic as the uterine stone caught and held onto his clothes. He paused and allowed the momentary hand of panic to go elsewhere. Fully composed, he stuffed himself through the hole into the waiting room on the other side. "How are you doing, Kay?" his mother telepathied again. "Fine, Mother. I just got through into the chapel." "Oh, very good. I'm so proud of you. Do you know how hard that squeeze is to get through? See how fearless you are? Let the Vith Lords choke on that. Take your time and look around, and don't forget to offer a blessing. You're in the presence of your ancestor." "I won't." He thought a moment and prevented a tear from coming. He would miss his mother. "Don't cry for me, Mother. I'm sorry I had to be a bother." The room was bathed in a wash of lamp black. He sat there trying to allow his flawed green eyes to adjust to the lightness surroundings. His hearing was rather acute. He could hear minute little things going on all around him, but he couldn't see a thing. Once again, he turned the neon flashlight on and waved it around. The chapel beyond the squeeze was fairly small and dusty, mostly a faded blue color with a complicated stained glass window dotting the walls, which now looked out on packed earth and masonry. Apparently this chapel had once faced an outside wall and had been built over in the many years since its construction. That was a usual feature of Castle Blanchford, the new covering up the old. He panned around with the flashlight. A few ancient pews emerged in the dusty beam, as well as a life-size marble statue of the Countess that was partially buried in the far wall. There she was! Pretty lady, he thought, admiring the serene-looking woman, a carved card resting in her left hand, her right hand opened and inviting. The tiled floor was strewn with dry leaves, ancient and brittle. He picked one up and immersed it in the flashlight's beam. No, they weren't leaves. They were roses. Dried roses littered the floor. He made his way to the statue to have a good look at her card. He was careful not to step on the roses as he made his way through. He thought she might not like that. Those were her flowers, mummified or not, and he didn't want to hurt them. The card in her hand was tapered and dainty, like a rapier. It was quite a bit smaller and lighter than his father's accursed king card, which was like a lead club in comparison. He'd never thought of a card as being dainty and light. It hadn't occurred to him. There was Vith writing carved into the hilt of the Countess's card, which Kay, from his lessons, could read. Putting his exceptional linguistic skills to work, it said, "Killed 100 Hytath with Windermere." That must be her card's name, Windermere, and it had killed 100 Hytath. He was impressed. An image came to his mind of going to the castle smithy by the lake and forging a card similar to this one, something small and light that he could use without effort. He imagined the excitement, the heat and smoke, the sizzling of the raw, molten materials. Perhaps his mother could add a bit of silver tech to the forging to make it stronger, make it glow in silver. He imagined presenting it to his father, allowing him to see what he had made. He had a momentary dream in amber where he saw it in his hand, real and solid. It glowed with silver tech power, and there was something he couldn't see clearly etched into the hilt as AMID R.A., and a few other letters he couldn't make out. The amber faded, and he was back in the dark, looking at the Countess's card. All sorts of ideas entered his head. He could have a card just like this one. It could be real. But no, it was too late for all of that. The balcony awaited him. Recalling his mother's task, he approached the statue and bowed, head down, offering a simple prayer to her memory and thanks for this lesson, though it had come too late. He had already made up his mind and was walking dead. Just then, the statue spoke to him.
"Hi,"
it said in a cheerful female voice. Kay looked up startled. He thought at first it was his mother playing a trick on him, but no. Mother was nowhere around. One of his sisters, perhaps. Kai was too haughty to play childish games, and Hathaline couldn't really talk yet. Who had spoke? Hello? He responded, holding the flashlight up to the statue's face in the gloom.
"What's your name?"
The statue said again, in a pleasing, cheerful voice. The statue didn't move, its mouth didn't open and close, but its voice was plain as day. Cable? My name is Cable. He had a thought. Countess Furcandia, is that you?
"Oh, Cable is a very lovely name, and no. What name did you say? For what?"
Countess Furcandia.
"Oh, that's not my name, and I'm not a countess. Maybe someday I'll be one, but not now. My name is Sammy Doran. Well, that's kind of hard to say, isn't it? So you can just call me Sam, or Sammy, or Dora. Or, if you feel brave, you can call me Sammy Doran, whatever you like." May I call you Kay? Do you mind so much if I call you that? That's your nickname, isn't it?"
Sure. No, I don't mind. Everybody calls me Kay.
"Oh, thank you, Kay. You're a nice fellow. I can tell that already."
Kay waved his flashlight around, trying to find the source of the voice. It seemed to be coming directly from the statue.
Why are you using a flashlight, Kay?"
Sam asked. Because it's dark in here and I can't see.
"Oh, you must be pulling my leg." "You don't need a flashlight. Use your sight."
Kay stood there before the statue, feeling a fresh wave of embarrassment trickle over him. "I don't have the sight," he said quietly.
"Sure you do."
Sam's voice shot back. Her voice was heavily accented with a trilling burr that sounded vaguely familiar, though Kay couldn't place it. It wasn't like a Remnath accent or Esther or Xenon either. It was most similar to Hala, like what his aunt, Countess Pardok, spoke, though Sam's voice was much more musical and friendly in tone. "Sam?" Kay asked. "Your voice, it has an interesting sound to it."
"It does?"
Sam replied.
You'll have to pardon me, Kay. Your language isn't what I normally speak. My grandmother taught it to me, though, and I worked extra hard to learn it. I hope I'm doing all right."
"I can understand you just fine," Kay said. "What language do you normally speak, if I may ask?"
"Which one? Well, let's just say maybe I'll teach it to you here and there, a little at a time. I'd love to speak to you in my own language. Do you pick up languages fast?"
"I'm told I do."
"Well, great. I'm sure you'll be a natural."
Sam was about to say something else, but then paused.
Kay, I don't mean to sound rude, but Do I smell something good in your pack? It smells like something to eat. It smells really good. And I'm so very hungry, and I've not lunched yet today.
Kay opened his pack and pulled out one of the pastries. You mean this? It's a fresh pastry from the kitchens. The cooks make them every day. My mother loves them.
Oh, I can see why. They smell just wonderful. Is it possible? I mean, could I possibly ask you to share one with me? I hate to ask because I really don't have anything to share with you in return.
Well, that's all right. I'll give you one. You needn't give me back anything. I've always been taught to share.
Oh,
Sam exclaimed.
you're so very kind.
Where should I give this to you? He asked.
You simply place it in the statue's hand. I'll be able to get it there.
Kay, without really thinking about it, stepped forward and placed the pastry into the statue's open hand. Well, here, I hope you enjoy it. After a moment, as he watched, the pastry vanished.
Oh,
Sam exclaimed.
that was so good. Oh, thank you so much. You're such a nice fellow, Kay.
Kay looked into his pack. I have another one, Sam. I offer it to you if you want it.
You don't want it?
No, Sam, you can have it. I offer it to you. Sam was quiet for a moment, and then,
Well, yes, Kay. I would like it very much. Thank you.
her voice sounded strained, as if she were on the verge of tears. Kay placed the pastry in the statue's hand, and again it vanished. He backed away and sat down on one of the old pews, the dusty yew wood groaning as he did. He trained his dusty flashlight beam on the statue. Sam, where are you? Sam stayed silent for a moment.
Well, we've only just met, and I don't want you to think ill of me or anything. Let's just say I'm pretty far away.
Far away, he said, repeating. So how is it that I'm speaking to you right now?
Oh, I can do a lot of things, Kay. I was poking around and I saw you.
Sam paused again.
I think you're cute, Kay. I hope that doesn't intimidate you.
No, it doesn't, he said, feeling a little bashful. Can you see me right now?
Well, I'm looking right at you. I like your hair. I like the color. Please, what do you call it?
My hair? It's purple. It's not a usual sort of hair color.
Purple.
Sam repeated.
It's so lovely.
The great lords and ladies who come to gawk at me every week certainly don't like it.
Well, who cares what they think? I like it. Your parents like it.
No, they don't. It needs to be blue.
Blue? Is that a color?
Yes.
Like your sister's hair? Like your father's hair? Sort of like the sky?
Kay laughed. Yes.
Well, I think purple is very pretty. It sets you apart and makes you who you are. I saw you the other day standing there like a statue while all the people passing by made mean remarks. I really wanted to reach out and cheer you up. I saw you were upset. And who wouldn't be? I'd be upset too. Your dad got really mad.
He got mad at me because the people made me cry.
No, he didn't. He was mad at the people for the things they said about you. And about your mother. He'd had enough. Do you know what your father said? He said to them, "Leave my home and never return. Should I catch you on our holdings ever again, it shall mean war." What does war mean?
Kay shrugged. Fighting, killing with armies.
Oh, I wouldn't want to war with your father. He's a great warrior. If he's willing to war with the other lords over you, he must love you a lot.
Well, I guess so. I'm sort of a disappointment around here.
Why?
I can't fly, and I can't pick up Father's card, and going into space makes me sick. And I can't turn invisible, and I'm not super strong, and I can't run fast, and I can't sight.
And you consider yourself a failure?
Kay thought about his response. Yes.
But you can see, and you can fly. You can't fly machines the way your father does, but you can fly nonetheless. You can't see the way your father sees, but you can see such things. Maybe you're just not looking in the right way. Your eyes are green, I guess, and your hair is purple. Maybe your ability to see is different too. Have you ever thought of that?
No, he hadn't. Sam continued.
I can't fly and I can't see like you can. And I've never been to space, but it would probably make me sick too. I can't do all those things, but I can talk to you from far away through the mouth of a statue, and I can lift your father's card. Hey, Kay, maybe we can help each other.
How so?
I can lift your father's card. I can help you lift it too. Or come up with a suitable solution around it. Maybe once you've lifted it, you'll figure out how to properly see too. You never know.
You'll help me lift Father's card. I suppose you saw me trying and failing. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you the pale ghost, Sam?
Pardon? Am I the what?
There's a ghost that's been following me around. A pale ghost with really long fingernails. Is that you? Sam laughed.
What? I'm not a ghost, Kay. My heart beats. My skin is warm. At night, I go to bed. There's nothing unusual about my fingernails. In our culture, ghosts are evil. I'm not evil.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you a ghost. So, you want to help me lift the Runvanian?
Runvanian? What's that?
It's the mock-up of my father's card in the library, the one I can't lift. You'll help me?
Oh yes, I'd love to help you.
Wait, the Runvanian is 77 pounds. I can't budget, and you sound like a girl.
I am a girl. So?
A girl can't lift the Runvanian.
I can lift it. I'm stronger than all my brothers and sisters. I'm stronger than many of them put together. Shall I prove it to you?
Yeah. Please, prove it.
Then turn off your flashlight and close your eyes.
Why am I turning off my flashlight?
No peeking. You promise?
I promise. He turned off the flashlight and couldn't see a thing. A moment later, he felt a soft hand touch his shoulder. The hand moved down his arm until it got to his, where it gently raised it aloft. He felt the cold, smooth shaft of the Runvanian fall softly into his palm. Feeling with his fingers, he followed the shaft down to the hilt. There he felt a warm hand gripping the handle. The hand was soft and small. "Is that you, Sam?" he asked. He heard her voice. "Yes, Kay, that's my hand." He heard the pew groan a little as she leaned over. He couldn't see her leaning over, but he sensed it. She whispered into his ear, so close he could feel her breath. He could smell the soft notes of her skin. "See? Nothing to it. How are you able to do this?" She took his hand and moved it slowly up the length of her arm. Her arm was soft and girl-like in feel. He felt the bend of her elbow go by, and then the jack-in-the-box of her upper arm. She flexed, and he felt a machine-like network of muscle rise up through the softness, like a submarine ship bursting out of a calm stretch of water. Then, without effort, she lifted him up off the pew, cradling him to her breast. all the while still holding the Runvanyan. She whispered into his ear, "So, have I proved my point? Perhaps you'd like to wrestle as well." I'm certain there's no need for that. So what do you want in return?" "In return? I don't want anything in return. Wait, I take that back. There is something I want." "What is it?" "I've always liked reading the news posts in the morning. But they don't come where I live. We don't have the HoloNet here. Will you read them to me?" "Read you the morning posts. Is that all you want?" "Yes, I would like it very much." "All right then, I agree. I will read you the posts, and you'll help me lift the Runvanyan. Can you please put me down?" "You promise?" she asked. "Yes, I promise." She set him back on the pew. He felt the cool Runvanyan gently touch the side of his face, guided by Sam's hand. "You aren't just saying what I want to hear, are you, Kay? A promise is very important to my people, just as it is to yours. You've made me a promise, and now you're obligated to keep it. I don't want you, once we're done here, to go upstairs and do anything silly. Right? That would break everyone's heart here. It would never be the same. You know that, right? And it would hurt me too, as you just made me a promise that you didn't keep. I'm eager to hear you read me the posts." Kay shuffled uncomfortably. "I don't know what you mean. I'm not going to do anything silly." The balcony and the long drop to the crags hung in his thoughts. "All right. When may I expect you to read to me?" "Tomorrow." Sam's voice brightened, and the Runvanyan fell away. The pew groaned again as Sam stood up and was gone.
"Tomorrow it is,"
came her voice from the statue.
"You promised."
He turned the flashlight back on. He was alone in the old chapel as before. They talked a bit more, and then Kay thought he'd better be getting back to his mother.
"Kay, I've greatly enjoyed meeting you today."
"And so have I. Can you see me anywhere I am in the castle?" Sam laughed.
You mean, can I see you in the bathroom and in the shower and whatnot? Yes, I could if I wanted, but I promise I won't do that. Here's where we'll meet. This will be our special place. Zamfa?
"What?"
Oh, I'm sorry. What's the word I want? Oh!
She repeated herself.
This will be our special meeting place. Okay? I think that's the right word.
"All right."
Until tomorrow, Kay.
Kay left the chapel and returned to his mother. He told her about what he had experienced, and she quickly went into the chapel to see for herself. When she emerged, she said she had heard nothing. She pummeled him with questions, and then, apparently satisfied it was a standard run-of-the-mill ghost the castle teemed with, and nothing more, they returned to the central castle and had lunch. Kay went back up to his reading room. It was raining hard, and the water would be way up in the crags below Pendar Tower. He could just head to the balcony and step off, and there would be nothing to stop him. Only a strange promise he'd just made to a voice in a chapel. He decided to postpone the suicide. He'd first keep his promise, read the post to the voice named Sam, and then once the conditions of the promise were fulfilled, he'd kill himself. He figured the afterlife might be pretty tough on those who didn't keep their promises. Yeah, he'd kill himself later. And with that, we conclude Part 1, Chapter 3, Sam. So, a couple things there. I had mentioned that Kay considers himself a failed Vith. He can't do this, he can't do that. One thing he can do, and didn't even realize it himself, the Vith of all the tribes on Cana, the elder tribes on Cana, you got the Vith, You got the Xenons, the Remnath, the Halas, the Calverts, and the Barrows, and the Esters. How can I forget them? Of all the tribes on Cana, the Vith have a particular trait where the Vith are fearless. They don't feel fear like everyone else does. They feel anxiety and things like that, but as far as being afraid of things, that's not what the Vith feel. That's why the Vith are so eager to face a challenge, to face a monster, to face the unknown, because they don't get scared like that. And Kay is sashaying up onto this slippery balcony with 4,000 feet of nothing beneath, just an inch away, and he didn't feel a hint of fear. Me, on a 4,000 foot high balcony, I would probably be weak in the knees. I don't even know if I could go out on a balcony that high, that windy, that perilous. And he did it like it was nothing to him. And he didn't even realize that he's doing stuff. He's doing something most people probably couldn't do. So he hears a voice telling him, "Hey, you're going to be a real dog if you jump off, commit suicide, and don't leave a note for people to read, so they can understand why you did what you did." This voice, whatever it is a mystery at this point. It should become clear later whose voice it is. But he goes to write his suicide note. His mother, Sigillis, shows up, and Sig's a very loving mother. And Sig has a lot of passions. She loves bowling, and she loves League society. She's gotten a bit bluer since she became the Countess of Blanchford. And another thing, she loves the castle. She loves exploring it. And Castle Blanchford is just this huge old place, and there's a lot of hidden things to discover. Old chapels, old corridors, and things that got built over in the past. And that's a highlight of Castle Blanchford. There's a lot of stuff that was built over and hidden, and you can't just open a door and get to some of these places. You have to crawl and know where they are. And Sig is a avid castle caver. She's explored a lot of Castle Blanchford, and she even rediscovered an entire feasting hall that had been buried, and it was beautiful. It was very ornate in the Vith style, and Sig wanted to dig it out and throw a lavish party and dedicate it to Captain Davidge, her husband. That was discussed in book 2. Yeah, Sig, and she loves to share her passion with her children. Kay is becoming of age. He's old enough that he can do these things, and he's small enough that he can fit into some of these really tight spaces. And so Sig gives him a tough challenge. He says, "I want you to go into this tight squeeze, and there's a chapel at the end of it, and it's a chapel to your ancestor, Countess Furcandia." And she knew Kay was feeling down. She didn't know he was suicidal, but she knew all this stuff was getting to him. And she knew one of his hang-ups was not being able to lift his father's carg. It was just too damn heavy. It's 77 pounds. A lot of people would have trouble with that. I mean, you might be able to lift it, but are you going to be able to fight with it, to swing it around, No, I doubt it. And she, Countess Furcandia, his ancient ancestor, also used a carg. And Kay sees it. It's called Windermere, and it's very small and dainty and light, almost like a rapier. And he never thought of that before, because mostly what he knew of cargs was his father's big, heavy carg. And he thought, you know what? This could be something that would do me wonders. I might be able to use something like this, something small and light. It's still a carg, just a much smaller, much lighter one. And he starts to get all sorts of thoughts in his head. He even has like a quick dream in the amber. He has those a lot, where he actually sees it in his hand. And then he starts hearing a voice talking to him, and the voice introduces herself as Sam, as Lady Sammy Doran. And they talk, and Sam sort of takes his mind off of his suicidal thoughts, and she says, "Hey, I'll help you lift this carg, this king carg, and I can lift it." And he's like, "Well, how can you lift it? You're a girl." "Well, he doesn't know that she's a Monoma, and Monomas are much, much stronger than elders. And even the little ones are stronger, and Sam is a big one, and they're really strong. So Sam is able to lift this 77-pound weapon and pick him up at the same time. Monoma strength is something to behold. Of course, he doesn't know that yet. And the reasoning, as I mentioned, that this story came in a lot of drafts and a lot of things changed over time. In the original draft, Kay encounters a voice in this chapel, and it's Sam. But the reasoning behind why she's a voice was totally different. And I actually, the part where he's in the dark and she shows up and gives him the Run Vanyan is an add-on that wasn't there before. So the reason she's a voice is not yet known, and it's totally different, again, like to what I originally had envisioned. And once we get to that part of the story, I'll reveal what the original thing was. But in any event, Kay has met Sam, and she asks in return for, I'll help you lift this Run Vanyan. In return, I love the posts. I love reading the posts. I don't get them where I live, and he doesn't know where she lives. She doesn't tell him. And he's like, well, you want me to read you the morning post? He's like, yes, I would love that. So he promises he'd read her the post, and then his suicide attempt sort of just gets forgotten. In any event, that was Chapter 3, Sam. Next week, we continue on Chapter 4, Forging His Karg. So we'll see how this progresses. We'll see how the friendship and relationship between Kay and Sam develops, and see everything that happens with that. Until then, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.